Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Happy New Year to you guys. Thank you for all your loyal support and thank you for listening to this podcast. This is going to be a great episode with John Adams and Kevin Call of High Point Outfitters. We're going to cover a bunch of units in Arizona for elk that for the upcoming draw here, February 13th. I have a number of great outfitters also going to be following up over the next coming days and coming weeks. So to make sure if you're going to be applying for Arizona that you tune into the podcast to get all of the information from all of the different guys that are going to bring value to this podcast. And I want to thank them for their support as well and their time. Guys, I want to thank the sponsors of this podcast and remind you the title sponsor, GoHunt.com Insider, has just released their 2018 draw odds. And they are the most accurate draw odds on the market. So if you're going to be applying in Arizona as well as these other western states, you definitely want to check out the new draw odds for the upcoming year and upcoming draw. You can go to gohunt.com/JScott and you can sign up right there. If you do so and go to the gohunt.com/JScott, you're going to get a $50 Go Hunt Gear Shop gift card right off the bat just for signing up. So go check it out. Unbelievable resource for Western hunters and something that anybody that's applying in the Western states should be a Go Hunt Insider member. Also want to thank Kuiu Ultralight Hunting, Jason Hairston and his crew. Phonescope.com. If you use the JScott JScott16 promo code, you're going to get a 10% discount at all Phonescope.com products. Also, the Optics Authority, Cody Nelson at the Outdoorsman's. Use the JScott promo code and you're going to get a 10% discount at products over there at the Outdoorsman's. In Phoenix, you can call them at 1-800-291-8065 or you can visit them online at outdoorsmans.com. Guys, let's get right into this. We're going to talk about a bunch of different units, and if you guys have any questions about the draw coming up in Arizona or any other states, give me a call. I'll make sure to get them give me a call, but also send me an email at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com and I'll make sure to get those answered. And any other questions or comments you have about the podcast, I love hearing from you guys. Love seeing your success stories, any of your hunting, fishing photos. Please forward them my way. You can also follow along my Instagram page at JScottOutdoors. My associate Dar Colburn, Darr Colburn, at Dar Colburn on Instagram. We're headed to Mexico here soon. Going to be down there for a couple weeks with hunters and clients and looking forward to spending time in the rut down in Sonora. So let's get right to this episode.
Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we're going to have fun. I've got John Adams and Kevin Call with High Point Outfitters out of Flagstaff, Arizona on the line, and we're going to talk about the Arizona elk application deadline of February 13th and talk about these guys' favorite elk units. Guys, how you doing?
Doing good. Real good, Jake. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been wanting to have you guys on for some time now and talk about some of your favorite units. So I thought this would be a perfect time here as we're kind of hitting the first of the new year here in moving into 2018. With that, every year always means the Arizona elk application season, elk and antelope application season, is always that first part of February. First question I want to ask you guys is, in previous years, the applications were all due for all species in, I believe, June or over the summer, and they switched a few years back to this structure where the elk and antelope would be drawn in February. And from an outfitter's perspective and a hunter's perspective, do you think that's a good change, and why? Do you think applying for hunts that are, say, in September, October, November, is it a good thing that we're applying, in February for those?
Jay, it's good and bad. I mean, the good is, of course, hunters and us as outfitters get to book those hunts early. We can scout early. We know what units we're going to go into, so that's all positive. Of course, the negative, especially like this year, with all the great moisture we've had in the last year. We haven't had any moisture for 4 months, and so it would sure be nice to get that spring moisture behind you to kind of get a better feel for what antler growth is going to happen, rather than having to put in February and really not knowing what that spring moisture is going, to do. So, I guess there's a positive and negative. The good thing is, of course, we love to have our hunters booked up early. They can start planning. We can start planning. As you know, Jay, I mean, a lot of these antelope and elk hunts are almost turned into once in a lifetime, especially for non-residents. And so, it's great to, especially the archery elk hunts, to have that long to be able to, 6 months to shoot your bow. We used to have, we were lucky to have 6 weeks to shoot the bow and get ready for the archery hunt. So there's good and bad. But I think overall, it's good. Unfortunately for us too, is I kind of wish the deer draw and sheep draw were in the same time frame, because what happens is for us as outfitters, we're booking these late elk hunts over, on top of the late kaibab hunt, for example, and not being able to, or not, basically having to decide whether we want to book late elk hunters or late kaibab hunters and wait for, a few months before the deer draw starts. So that's kind of the plus and minus as we see it, at least, from an outfitter standpoint.
Yeah. Another thing too is, I think I helped 5 people do their units just today. I'm telling every single one of them, to make sure they buy point guard this year. So that way, if the moisture doesn't come, or we don't get the spring rains like we should, or whatever, at least they could turn their tag back in and keep their points to keep on applying. So that's what I tell people to put in no matter what, and see how it's looking. You know what I mean? You can go all the way up pretty much until the hunt starts. What is it? I think it's 48 hours before the hunt starts. You can give your tag back.
Yeah, it's a short window. Jay, do you know that for point guard?
I don't know the exact time frame specifics, but I've been wishing that they did point guard for a long time and have the ability to give your tag back. There has been some people out there that says, there's going to be abuse of that, and I agree, there probably is, but the benefit, in my mind, far outweighs the negative or the downside, in that, something happens in your life, or you have a tragedy strike, or, in the case of, the bulls don't grow their antlers, and you decide this isn't the year, whatever may come up, it gives you the opportunity to give that tag back, and keep your points. Of course, you lose the money for that, the money that you've paid in, but you get to keep your points, and you even get a point as if you just applied for points. So, I think it's a huge deal. We've all known hunters that, right before the hunt, something happens in their personal life or business life or something that they just cannot make the hunt. And like you said, Kevin, I think it's one of those things that these hunts are once in a lifetime, and it would be sad to know that someone has a, Unit 10 early rifle elk hunt, and now they can't go on it, and the tag just goes to waste.
Yeah, amen to that. And, people wait for 20, 25 years for these tags, and then to either draw it in the wrong year or to draw it in a year that you can't use it. We had a unfortunate situation where a hunter last year had max points on antelope, drew it, and unfortunately passed away right before the hunt. So that that happens, but at least you have an opportunity to. You never know. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, speaking of conditions, you guys live in Flagstaff, Arizona. and you talked about drought. What are the conditions out there? How were the conditions going into, let's call the winter? With the fall dryness, what are you seeing out there? How do you think it's going to impact? We're, like you both said, we're trying to make predictions ahead of time, and yes, you still get the point guard, but it's fun to kind of speculate and say, how are things now? How bad do you think it will impact not only the health of the elk, but ultimately that their antlers? Or do you think it'll be just fine if we get spring rains? I kind of want to hear both your opinions on where you think we are and where you think we will be.
I'll go first, this is John, but I would say that it's not, as far as horn growth for next year, I don't think we're in that criteria where it's hurting yet. I still think usually we get our biggest, snowstorms, and stuff like that, in, February, March, usually we get still pounded with snow. But usually spring rain, I think, is more key on antler growth. But, I mean, Game Fish and Arizona Elk Society, everybody has been, hauling water to all these tanks. I mean, if you drive around any tank right now, they're absolutely demolished with tracks. I mean, the mule deer are absolutely pounding it. The elk are doing the same exact thing, but I would say that we're not in necessarily a hurt or crisis yet for horn growth for next year, but it all depends, come after February and stuff. I mean, I don't know, what's your thought, Kevin?
Jay, to me, we've got a couple of good things going for us. We had phenomenal summer rains. We've got great grass on the ground and still have good grass on the ground, kind of holdover grass. The bulls went into the winter in excellent shape. And so I think, those are positives. I think I agree with John that we're not in crisis yet, but, we certainly soon could be. We had an exceptionally dry fall and exceptionally dry winter so far. Spring rains could turn it around quick, but at least we have good grass on the ground. Water in dirt tanks is pretty well non-existent in the Northland, but luckily we've got enough, cattle still being run on the properties and water, pumping water and what have you, a variety of ways for elk to get water. So I think we're still okay, but, it's, shoot, we'd love to have the winter snows that we've had last year, but nothing's come, and we always look at the forecast. We've got a little bit coming, I guess, next week, but it's minor, so we're still got our fingers crossed.
Good stuff. How much weight do you put into, you say there's good grass on the ground, you say that they're in good shape going into the winter. If, the temperatures have been fairly warm, we haven't had hardly any snow, do you feel like that could almost be a positive in the fact that not severe cold temperatures and not tons of snow where they're pawing to, get to the feed? Is there any part of you that says, it's not going to affect them at all because, they'll make do and get enough to keep their bodies pushed through? And if we, I'm curious your thoughts on that.
The deer and antelope side for sure. I don't think elk are overly affected by snow, especially, we just don't get enough here in northern Arizona, compared to, as Colorado and our other, northern states above us. But we typically just don't get enough snow to really hurt the elk side. But certainly antelope and deer, we can. And, good grief, Jay, it was 70 degrees yesterday and today. It's just crazy. We're looking at ourselves in Flagstaff, and people are coming to work in shorts. It's just unseasonably warm. I don't think it's hurting us yet, but we could have a great summer rain, but of course that doesn't help us. Not going to help us at all with with antler growth. So we're getting in the critical mode a little bit at this point, but we've got another, month or so before we really start to. I mean, the deadline date is going to give us a better indication. We're 6 weeks out to see kind of what's going to happen there.
Do you guys recommend to any of your hunters to wait until the last week? And a lot of times when I talk to people and they call and they ask, I say, what does it hurt if you're applying online? What does it hurt to wait to the last week and maybe just see what January does? Maybe all of a sudden we have a big turnaround in January. We get a couple really big storms, and then it becomes more, still in a drought, but those storms, kick a bunch of snow and it changes things. I mean, or do you guys fall under the notion that, get your applications in and early and just get it done?
Jay, we always tell them to wait till the last minute. And I don't know anybody would do paper applications, but of course you probably noticed the deadline for the paper application is the end of January. That's crazy. I don't know anybody would do paper, but we always tell everybody to do, late in the game with an online application. But I always tell them don't wait till the last day. Unfortunately, Arizona is just notorious for, getting the system screwed up on the last day. I don't know why that happens, but only in Arizona. But never wait till the last day. But, that last weekend, I mean, plan on doing it and getting it done that last weekend. But don't wait for Tuesday the 13th because it seems like we always have problems.
So there's always scary things happening with ranches, or there could be fires. I mean, there could be anything that could possibly happen that could change your unit that you're trying to apply for. So the better, the more you wait, the better. I think you're going to learn about something, or maybe you never saw that a date flopped around, or dates moved back, or you're always going to catch something. We're constantly looking at these regs, crunching numbers. So.
For sure. We're going to go over kind of your favorite units and talk about each one of them. Before we do that, is there anything specifically in the regs for elk and antelope that have jumped out at either one of you, in any way? Is there any surprises or positives or negatives or anything that's jumped out in these new regulations?
A few with antelope. I was just having lunch with one of our guides, Shane, and he noticed that in Unit 5B, like the tags went up on antelope there, and in Unit 10 they decreased, which I'm glad to see that tags decreased in Unit 10. They've been really putting a hurt on the antelope in 10. I mean, we killed some good bucks in 10 last year on the antelope, but I did notice that. I'm excited to see that 7 West is having a early muzzleloader hunt this year. Excited to see what comes of that hunt.
Speaking of that hunt, is that obviously I'm not too familiar with 7 West. Obviously, I drive through it to go to 9. I've never hunted 7 West. John, is that a hunt that is new, meaning have they not had an early rifle or a muzzleloader hunt in 7 West?
They haven't had I can't remember the last time they've had an early rifle hunt in 7 West. Shoot, it's been probably, I want to just say 7 years off my top of my head, and it was an early rifle hunt back then, and now they did it to a muzzleloader hunt this year. There's some phenomenal bulls in 7 West this year.
Jay, the good thing about that hunt is they're letting the muzzleloaders go first, and I know, they did that in 9, 2 years ago, 2 years ago. So, I mean, they're kind of doing that same thing, letting the muzzleloaders go first, and then the archery hunters go second. So,
I didn't notice that. Let me look here. I'm looking at the reg. So 7 West muzzleloader is going to go in front of. Okay.
Yeah, it starts 9/14. So that's of course typical archery dates. So that's that's going to go before the archery hunt. The other thing, as you know, they rotate these early rifle hunts around, in Region 2 every year, and they, of course, 6A this year is going to be, the new one that they've thrown. Last year was 7 East, so they've thrown an early rifle hunt in 6A. Not a typical unit where there's a lot of big bulls, but of course, as you know, there's a lot of bulls on that hunt. That will be a good hunt for a lot of people. With 30 tags, that should be a dynamite hunt, early 6A hunt, which is new this year with the typical rotation that Region 2 always does.
Those hunts are super hard to try to figure out how many points it's going to take to guarantee those hunts. Last year was also 5B North too, and that was a bomber hunt.
Yeah.
Killed a really good bull during that hunt in the 5B North early rifle hunt. So, but I don't know. Has anything jumped out to you in the regs?
The one thing that it's not necessarily jumping out, but it was something that I was happy to see. I'm spoiled. I'll be the first one to admit. I used to hunt Unit 10 when it was in its what I call prime. And, I think the last best year we've had was 2005. I was fortunate to have a tag. That's the last elk tag I've had in the state of Arizona. But I was happy to see the archery tag, stay at 100, where last year was the first year they bumped them back to 100. We got as high as 200 tags in Unit 10, and we got as high as 100 early rifle tags. It's hard for me to see a Unit 10 when I've seen it in such, as you guys have, just so incredible to watch it go through the pressure that it faced. And I understand they had too many bulls and they were trying to kill more elk. But from a quality standpoint, from someone who loves looking at trophy bulls, the pill was a little bit hard to swallow because of the numbers of tags. And I feel fortunate that I wasn't in there when it, was 200 archers and 100 early rifle. I just didn't even go up there. But I was real happy to see Unit 10 late hunt numbers come down and the archery tags stay at 100. Why don't we just jump into, before you guys respond on that, let's just jump into Unit 10 and talk about your thoughts on them keeping that archery tag at 100.
I'm actually really excited to see the numbers drop in Unit 10. I actually got lucky last year to have early rifle bull tag in Unit 10, and the age class is definitely coming back up in 10. You can tell just in them decreasing the tags. You're eligible to pass up, multiple bulls every day, quality bulls and stuff. So the pressure is awesome, not having, 5 guys glassing on a hill, because there might only be 40 early rifle bull tags, but, each one of those guys is bringing their aunt, grandma, 2 glassers, you know what I mean? So you can cover up that unit pretty fast still with 100, and 200 archery tags or 100 early rifle bull tags, which they used to have a few years back. The tag numbers decreasing I'm super excited to see what this year brings. There is actually quite a few bulls that did not get killed last year, and I'm excited to see what they're going to look like this year. So Unit 10 does, like with the moisture thing, Unit 10 really doesn't get affected that much, considering how most of Unit 10 is ranch land and cattle ground where they're pumping water all over the place. It's not really affected that bad by no moisture. So,
Jay, the nice thing, this is the 3rd year in a row that we're at 40 tags on the early hunt. That's good. 2015 was the last year we had 100, and that was a disaster. So it's good to see that, and good to, as you point out, keep the archery hunt the same and reduce down to 350, which is a 50 tag reduction on the general late hunt. And it's always good, to keep those tag numbers consistent. And that's a nice thing that they've done with 9. Unit 9 hasn't changed tag numbers forever. for whatever reason, they fooled around with 10 a little bit, and we're confident that they'll just keep it at the current tag levels. We're in good shape. We definitely saw an increase, a better, bump up a little bit last year from the prior year. So I think they'll just keep moving in that direction if they keep the tags where they're at.
Let's talk a little bit about Unit 10. With, as you know, there's several private ranches in Unit 10, and then there's some forest ground, and half of the Unit 10 is made up of the Boquillas Ranch, and they started doing a fee structure where each hunter had to pay to get on the ranch. Each outfitter had to pay to get on the ranch. Even helpers that came, I want to say they either limited or, if not limited, made each one of the helpers pay as well. In general, what have you noticed? Has it made the hunting better, worse? What are your thoughts on the tag or the fees to hunt there, and what has been your overall sense on the ground there?
I do think it's kind of funny about the outfitter thing. You really don't see that many outfitters hunting on the Big Bow Ranch, because to get access on the Big Bow Ranch, you have to, have insurance and liability and all that stuff. And it is kind of nice seeing how, not saying that they didn't book hunts. I'm just saying it is nice, that they actually do check, each legit outfitter out there before they give them access onto the ranch. So I do think that also helps. But as far as the money, like we pay $300, or it is actually $500. It used to be $300. It is $500. It's been $500 the last 2 years.
2 or 3, yeah.
2 or 3 years.
Now, is that, John? Is that per hunt? Like if you're guiding a hunt, or is that a $500 fee for an outfitter one time for the year?
Yeah, one time. Yep, one time.
Okay.
And we don't push that cost off to our hunters. Me and Kevin have had, have talked about it a bunch. Do you make the first guy that's booking with you pay that fee? Do you make the second guy? Do you divide it up evenly throughout the hunts? And we do so many hunts in Unit 10 that it's pretty much a wash. It might cost you an extra $100 per hunter or something, or whatever. It's just, it is what it is. It's not saying that that's the only place you're going to hunt, but it is a very good option to keep if you're going to hunt Unit 10, to just go ahead and pay it up front. You might be, hunting on the Babbitts, you might be hunting, on the Perrin, you might be hunting, in the forest, you might be hunting on the Big Boquillas. Who knows? But just to make sure you're legit on every single, section you could hunt in Unit 10, and it is cut up pretty bad. So,
and Jay,
go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, Jay, I want the thing I always tell the hunters is, why? I mean, if you get it drawn for Unit 10, why automatically kick off, half the unit out of, and not be able to hunt it? So that's just crazy. And so we try to get that done.
Just want to say,
yeah, I'm gonna try to kill my. We're in my office, so let me try to kill my office phone. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Really, it's been a positive thing for us to be able to. The nice thing about hunting the Boquillas versus on the forest or what have you. Of course, Forest Service permits are just as much of a pain, and you've got to move camp every 10 days, and it's just crazy, So you don't have that problem when you're on the the other areas in 10. So it just determines, really, we hunt wherever we scout and find the bulls we want to hunt or antelope we want to hunt. That's where we camp. That's where we hunt, and we just tell everybody get a permit, because you never know when you're going to end up during the hunt. So that's how we do it. And really, $80 shouldn't make or break somebody on a hunt. especially the type of hunts we're doing. I mean, they've got so much money invested in time and effort and points to get these tags. We typically do not run into a problem to get a $80 permit.
When the ranch first becomes fee-based, it was a big uproar, and have things settled down. And what is it that you think has got people the most riled up about it?
I don't think it's necessarily settled down. There are people that despise the ranch. The biggest thing that people are upset about is half of that ranch is state trust land, which belongs to me and you. You know what I mean? But it's landlocked, and Arizona has in the law where you can't corner hop. So there could be a 5-mile section in the middle of that ranch that you should be able to hunt, but you can't even access it because it's landlocked. So as far as that, no, that's still sour with everybody. You know what I mean? But as far as them not shutting, they can shut the whole ranch down. So the fact that they haven't shut the ranch down, you got to feel grateful about that. You know what I mean? Like, I want my kids to hunt it. I don't care if I got to pay, I hope they're not listening to this podcast, but, I don't care if I got to pay $500 to let my kids hunt that ranch one of these days. You know what I mean? Like, I'll pay it. My son's, going to be hunting with me, in 2018. He turns, 10. So, and he's guaranteed a Unit 10 tag. We'll pay what it takes to have him at least hunt it one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as far as you guys guiding in Unit 10 on the Boquillas Ranch, since they started the fee structure, have you noticed less pressure, more pressure, better hunting experience, worse hunting experience, or no change? What are you seeing out there?
Jay, to me, I mean, it's all related to the tag numbers. That's where we've seen the fluctuation. Of course, when there's 100 early rifle tag holders is when you run into people. So I think it's more tag number related and a lot less who's going to purchase a permit. It's my understanding that the cow permit guys, we're seeing a lot less pressure on the ranch. Of course, we don't do that hunt much, but people were like, well, we don't have to pay $80 to go get a cow. We can kill a cow anywhere in the unit, and so they weren't buying the permit. But for the bull hunts that we do, I don't think it's changed the number of folks that are on the ranch. I think it's about the same number. That's being, of course, fluctuated with the overall tag numbers of the state. Don't you think? I mean,
yeah. Well, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, we're going to boycott the ranch. We're not going to pay the fee. We're going to show them, how, what we're going to do. We're going to, not buy tags, whatever." And then you sit there and talk to the ranch manager, and on the early rifle bull tags, there was one person that didn't buy a permit, or on the archery tags, there was 5 people that didn't buy a permit. And it's just like, dude, no matter what, every single person is doing their research. They know what they're getting into before they draw a Unit 10 tag, where I think that was a big scare, or why people were so upset, is because they made that change that very first year halfway into people already having their tag in their pocket. You know what I mean? So they were pretty upset that all of a sudden, wait, I didn't know I was going to have to pay, back then I think it was $60. I didn't know I was going to have to pay $60 to hunt the ranch. And if I would have known that, I wouldn't have wasted my points, drawing a Unit 10 tag. You know what I mean?
Sure. Would you guys agree that in a year like this, when it's dry and those water tanks, not the dirt tanks, but the water system, like on the Boquillas, that the water troughs and the extensive water system, where on a dry year like this, you guys talked earlier about, Unit 10 having plenty of drinking water for the cattle and for the elk and deer and wildlife and such. On years like this, it's places like that that kind of, in my mind, you remember that, oh, this is pretty good for our wildlife, in the fact that when it's wet all over, you don't place the value on, hey, there's someone from the Boquillas Ranch or whatever ranch it may be in other units that are maintaining the waters, maintaining the windmills, maintaining this, in speaking about the Boquillas, extensive water program that's going direct benefit to our elk. And I think that's something that kind of gets overshadowed. Curious you guys' thoughts.
Jay, hands down. I mean, it's huge for wildlife to have all that water source and water system that the Boquillas, has, and the Babbitts. It's key to the resource out there for sure. I mean, that's what's lacking in Unit 9, is having all the cattle catchment waters that are out there. It's a huge deal. Of course, the Game and Fish and you and I, with heritage funds, are paying have paid to fix that resource on the Boquillas specifically in exchange for long-term access opportunities for hunters. The Game and Fish have put a lot of money into that water source to fix that water source, because it was done, 50s, 60s, and it was all completed, of course, with galvanized pipe. It's all failing. And so now they're replacing all of it with polypropylene, and the Game and Fish is paying for a lot of that replacement, is my understanding. So, the Game and Fish has stepped up to keep access for hunters, but has also stepped up to help, with the water source that not only helps the cattle, but greatly benefits the wildlife as well.
Good stuff. Speaking in Unit 10, go ahead.
Oh, people say they want trophy hunts, and if Game and Fish manages trophy units or whatever, they're willing to pay more money to have a good hunting experience. You know what I mean? To hunt age class, people are wanting better hunting experiences. Well, the Boquillas is technically offering them that type of trophy hunt. You know what I mean? So I think they're doing a good thing. They're managing that unit as a trophy unit, whether they know it or not. You know what I mean? But no matter what, they're managing Unit 10 on the Boquillas as a trophy unit. Game and Fish might not be seeing it that way, but the Boquillas is. So they, all the ranch hands call them cockroaches out there, all the elk. They hate them breaking their fences and drinking their water and, all that. The ranch hands are great people, super nice people. It's just funny whenever you're a ranch hand and you're trying to raise cattle and you got hunters hunting the same exact section of dirt. You're wanting, awesome elk, and they're wanting all the elk out of there. You see what I'm saying?
Sure. Let's jump back to, do you both agree that the trophy quality in 10, if we can get some spring moisture, if we can get some early green up, even with the drought we have, do you feel like the trophy quality trend is on the way up in Unit 10?
Absolutely. For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Next question is, in your mind, as far as an archery elk hunt, you guys may have differing answers, but if you had to pick one archery elk hunt in the state, which one would you want the most? Whatever unit you want, and why?
Well, I'll go first, but our answers are probably going to be the same, because, we personally put in for Unit 10 all the time, on our own. Early rifle first, archery second. We've been doing it for years. I moved away from 9 probably 10 years ago, just because of, so much hunting pressure, so many problems out at 9. I wanted to hunt on my own. It's easily done in Unit 10. You can get away from crowds. You can get away from other people. You can target bulls. You can see the bull that you're have an opportunity to harvest, and you can watch him for an hour before you actually stalk him. Like in Unit 9, they're generally in the cedars. You're lucky if you get to see him before you spend all day chasing him and then figure out he's not worth shooting. So we don't have any of those problems in 10. It's a little more open country, a little more glassable. The type of bulls that are there. You can generally relocate bulls because it's open enough that you can glass. If you're a glasser, Unit 10 is a dream. We don't get as much calling pressure in 10, so the bulls are pretty susceptible to calls. Every year it's not unusual to call a bull elk from a mile across the flat, and it's kind of fun to see him coming that far away. I mean, it's just Unit 10, I think, just has kind of grown on me. It's certainly a unit that grows on you over time. You learn how to hunt it a little better. There's always little pockets of elk. I mean, just as an example, it's not an archery hunt, but on this late elk hunt this past year, I found a little pocket that I had never hunted before, and I've been hunting it since the 70s. And I found a little spot. We killed a 375 bull out of it. I mean, it's so those types of experiences, I guess, in 10 have certainly bought me off. Unit 10's the unit I think is the most best opportunity for quality elk right now. I think is in Unit 10.
What about you, John?
Well, I guess what I like about I got 27, 23, and 10 are all probably 3 units that I would love to have an archery bull tag in. I guess the thing that I could care less about Unit 9 is there is not one bull in Unit 9 that doesn't have 50 pictures taken of them. In Unit 10, you can actually hunt. You don't know what bull is going to come out. You might have like 3-5 years history with one bull. I mean, we've seen multiple bulls year after year after year, but there's no trail cam pictures of them. You know what I mean? Like the bull I killed last year, there's not one trail cam picture of him. There's not one video of him. Nobody knows what it was. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that in Unit 9. If somebody kills a bull in Unit 9, there's 50 pictures of them from every angle. Same goes with 27 and Unit 1 and 23. Every other unit, there's a picture or somebody's got scope cam footage of them. Unit 10, you can't get in that unit pretty much until August. So you don't know what new bull might come off the res or what new bull might come off the Babbage. You can't run trail cameras on the Babbage. You can't run trail cameras on the Boquillas. So that section of 10 is awesome. You don't know what bull's going to show up. And most of the time in Unit 10, they don't even show up until the rut starts anyways. So it's kind of cool every year to hunt Unit 10 and not know really what bull's going to show up. So I do like that. But
you
23 and 27, do have a close running for Unit 10. So
you bring up a good point, and bear with me, guys. My sore throat, my voice is kind of leaving me here. But you bring up a good point in. It seems as though technology has given us so many advantages, and it's fun to check trail cameras. It's fun to run a string of cameras. It's you learn a lot. You become more effective. You become more efficient. I get it, but curious on you guys' opinion from a standpoint of, can we as hunters take it too far? Have we gotten to that point yet? And it seems like everybody's at a different maturity level with their own personal hunting and own opinions. Have we overcooked it? Do we still have a long way to go? Will we ever need to rein it back and say, why are we doing this? Just kind of curious your thoughts on the whole aspect from technology, whether it be trail cameras, across the board. What are your thoughts as far as a group? Have we overcooked this? Are we not even close? And, is there a breaking point someplace where we have to step back and say enough's enough? Or have we not even scratched the surface?
I would say that that us as guides, from the majority of the guides I have talked to, all of us are fine getting rid of trail cameras. The only reason we run trail cameras are to keep up, to make sure that you're putting in every bit of work in making sure
for your client.
For your client to know every single thing that you could have done for his tag that he's waited, a lifetime for. But I would like to see him, get rid of, ban them in Arizona or whatever you got to do. I mean, it's such a pain in the rear end to run dang trail cameras anyways. The only reason why we run them is just because if you don't run them, you're losing out on that information that another outfitter might have on you. So, as far as that aspect, I think across the board we're fine getting rid of them. I do like the fact that, there are some bulls that don't have trail cam pictures taken of them. It kind of takes the fun out of it. I'll give you an example, okay? So we ran trail cameras on the Kaibab from one end of the Kaibab to the other this year. We were getting 4,000 to 6,000 pictures a week on our trail cameras on the Kaibab because of how dry it was in those deer. We literally knew, not every single buck was there, but I would say 75% of the bucks that were there on the Kaibab we have, maybe pictures of, or, I'm not like, this is one of the things where you can get technical. Maybe it's 71% or whatever, but
a vast majority.
Yeah, and there was a tank that was getting hit on the Kaibab so hard, but there's only one buck hitting that tank, and it was a little 2-point. And there was a poor old man that was sitting that tank every single day because of how hard it was getting hit. There was deer on it all day, every day. There was only one buck hitting that tank, and we knew that because of a trail camera. I wanted to go tell him, that he was wasting his time sitting in this dang tank because there wasn't a buck that has hit it in a month. You know what I mean? But at the same exact time, it's just like, well, he didn't put in the work, but at the same exact time, like, whatever happened to getting out of a place and checking to see if there's a buck track? What happened to seeing, where the deer are coming in from, or, even if there is a buck track on the tank, how big is the buck track? I can't remember the last time I looked on the ground to look how big a buck track was. You always hear going out with grandpa hunting, oh man, you should have saw the size of this buck track, that's out the back. Like, I'm just like, oh, here goes grandpa's story again, you know what I mean? I could care less about the size of a buck track, but, if we didn't have trail cameras, maybe grandpa could teach me a few things about, looking at a buck track. You know what I mean? Like, I
so
think
in a way, you think there's a sense that's been lost because technology and trail cameras is so good, tracking and some of those details have been kind of swept aside because you just pan through your pictures. Nope, there's no good buck here. Let's keep moving.
Absolutely. And whenever you're looking or whenever you're hunting, if that's the buck, you don't even put your spotting scope. You don't even put your 15s. You just know that buck has a 10-inch kicker off his right side and shoot. You know what I mean? You already know it's a 210-inch buck. That's the buck we're going for. Shoot that buck. Just shoot. Whatever happened to, like, oh my gosh, look at that buck, throwing up the spot and scope. Oh, he's got kickers, flyers, he's got this, that, whatever. And then it runs away, and your buddy asks you the next day how big he was, and you have nothing to prove to him. You're just like, dude, he's a giant. You know what I mean? Whatever happened to those days? Nowadays you're like, oh, this is the buck, that's the bull that I was hunting. Oh, if you go on this guy's social media account, that's the bull that I was hunting. He has video of him, whatever. Like, I think technology has totally taken hunting way away from what it used to be in a bad way.
Jay, one thing, I love trail cameras. I love to see the pictures. I love, all of that. One thing that I don't miss, of course, we spend a lot of time in tent elk hunting, and we can't, run pictures or run cameras on the majority of the Unit 10. And it has saved us a ton of money, a ton of wear and tear on our vehicles. You don't have to worry about losing trail cameras. Don't have to worry about staying up all night during the hunt looking at trail camera pictures. On and on and on. So there's a real positive in a unit that no longer you can run you basically can't run trail cameras except in the national forest. So there's some positives for at least for on an outfitter side of all those things that you have to do when you run trail camera. They don't set themselves up for free, or they don't set themselves up with no time and taking them down. And there's just there's a lot of work when you throw up trail cameras.
Good stuff. I got a question about the Unit 10 late archery hunt, and then the Unit 10, I believe they have a late muzzleloader hunt. How are those hunts, number one, and do you think that's a good opportunity to target a big bull?
The late muzzleloader hunt in the past has been, and what's weird is they put that late muzzleloader hunt before the late archery elk hunt, so most people don't realize that. But, you're going in with pretty, nowadays they got those ultimate muzzleloaders that shoot 500 yards, and then the very next day you got to try to shoot them with a bow. So, that late muzzleloader hunt, we have done good in the past. We did not have a hunter on that hunt last year. We had two buddies that hunted it, and one killed a decent bull, like a 350 bull, and the other one didn't kill a bull. So to say what it was last year, none of us were on it, but in the years past, it's been really awesome. So,
but you would be afraid this year with the muzzleloader hunt in 10 going November 9th to the 15th, and then the late archery starting after that. You would say the muzzleloader hunt's going to be a much better hunt, and that you're almost scared off of that late archery because it's severely pressured. Like it would be a tough hunt.
Yeah, the last few years they put that archery hunt behind the muzzleloader hunt, so that's been that way for a while. Jay, when they first started that muzzleloader hunt, there was 25 tags, and the first year that they did it, we had a phenomenal hunt. My son guided that hunt, and Blake told me, hey, that's the best hunt I have ever been on. And he drew the tag himself the next year. So it's that muzzleloader hunt can be good, especially if it's dry and they're like this year they're concentrated on water. It would have been a good hunt. If there's snow on the ground, that's a little tougher hunt. So a little bit contingent upon the weather conditions, but it can be a good hunt. There's 75 tags this year. That's what it's been lately. So it's not a 25 tag hunt like it used to be, but it's a good hunt.
You guys had mentioned that Unit 7 West. Let's bounce away from 10 right now, and so I believe they started in 9. I believe last year then they did Unit 27. They put the firearm hunt in front of the archery hunt. It looks like this year 7 West is going to be the muzzleloader dream hunt, so to speak. It's going to go in front of the archers. 25 tags on that 7 West hunt. Do you feel like that is one of the best hunts this upcoming 2018 season? I mean, as far as potential to kill a trophy bull, do you think 7 West muzzleloader is the ticket?
I do think 7 West is going to be an awesome hunt this year. I live me and Kevin actually live, you could drive to 7 West and shoot 3 minutes from our house maybe or whatever. So I always go out there, video the bulls in velvet and go out there and see how they're doing and stuff like that. But there was some phenomenal bulls in 7 West this year. Actually, there's always been phenomenal bulls in 7 West. There hit a little dip 3 years ago in 7 West where I couldn't find a good bull in 7 West, but this year there was some solid bulls. Actually, one of our guides, Chris's, you can actually find him on Instagram or whatever. But his cousin just killed a bull out of 7 West last year during the archery hunt. I think Shane just officialed it. I think it went 417 out of 7 West last year. There's actually, and then you can go on. There's some serious stud bulls in 7 West that are going to be this year. I'm actually
so there's some bulls, some holdover bulls that are giant.
Yeah, a few got missed during the archery hunt. What's cool is this is one thing that, running trail cameras, you get to see what these bulls do, but that bull that got killed in 7 West was actually living in Unit 9, and he traveled, I think, almost like 25 miles to go get his cows.
Oh, it was flare. It was the big flared out bull, right?
Yep. Yeah, so so you can just see that stuff with trail cameras. But anyways, those bulls that usually people are seeing in trail cameras, in velvet in Unit 9, most of the time they end up in 7 East, 10, or 7 West, which is pretty cool to see. So,
interesting. Okay, let's talk about kind of the mid-tier units for those guys that are, you've already talked about 10 and 9 and 23 and 27 and, Unit 1, the best units out there. But let's talk about maybe are there any up-and-comer units or units that mid-tier level that you would say are, you need to, guys that are putting in from out of state really need to look at?
Yeah, 7 East has gone completely backwards. Used to be a great mid-tier unit. Game and Fish is doing a terrific job completely demolishing that unit, and I hope they're listening to this podcast. That's one person I hope is listening to this. And then 5B North is a stud mid-tier unit, if not rivaling with some of the upper-end units. 5B North is a stud of a unit. 6A is actually been doing pretty good. I'm actually excited to see what that early rifle hunt does in 6A this year. Unit 8 is kind of a mid-tier unit, I would say. But you could call Unit 8 a mid-tier unit.
Why is Unit 8 always kind of I'm curious, you guys are local up there. Why is Unit 8, it has flashes of glory, but it's kind of known as the red-headed buck-tooth stepchild of it never makes it into the best mention, but it's kind of always that mid-tier. To me, it seems like it has everything, but is it just numbers too many tags? 250 tags this coming year for archery.
Too many tags. We've got a guy that loves Unit 8, has done well on the late hunt in Unit 8, and it can do pretty well. But you're right. I mean, it's always just been a step off of some other units just because of tag numbers. Jay, one thing that's you and I and John are just spoiled with elk, and you talk with people, coming from Colorado or coming from back east or what have you. Unit 8 could be a perfect unit for certain people that, don't have a lot of points. They just want to come kill a bull. They want to see a lot of elk, that kind of a hunt. And sometimes I have to back myself off and say, hey, this isn't my hunt. This is this guy's hunt that has never killed a bull before, wants a good experience.
He's going to think it's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes we think, well, I would never put in for that unit. Well, that's fine. Don't put in for that unit, but that's you. Somebody else may think it's a phenomenal hunt. We get reminded that every year with people that come out and hunt, a 6A or a Unit 8 or a unit that's not known for monster elk. They see a 320 bull and they come flying in and blowing snot all over at 20 yards. I mean, they think that's a huge bull, and that and it's fun. And so, it's so I just I don't know. There are some units that you can keep shooting for, just like everybody wanting a strip tag. I get it, but you're never going to draw it, so get over it and draw a hunt that you can hunt. So that's the part of the conversation that I think a lot of non-residents hear. And can help with draw strategy, which we do every year. We help people get those tags that they can actually draw and have a phenomenal hunt. It just depends on the type of hunt they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when I ask you guys this question, I want you to both think of a word or a phrase of words that first comes to your mind. Okay? The Peak Wilderness Hunt in 7 East.
It pisses me off.
Keep it clean, boys. Go ahead.
I've been hunting it since the 70s, and it's just devastating.
One word.
Devastating it's just devastating. I'll start with that. Just devastating where we're at.
Okay, Kevin's word is devastating. What is yours, John?
Oh. It pisses me off. Okay, you can't stop me there. So Game and
the
Fish
cat's out of the bag already. You might as well let it completely loose.
Completely clueless about that unit. Okay, their whole entire reasoning to put more tags in that unit, my backyard. That's why we're both like seriously angry about this. Is they keep on they put like 5 early rifle bull tags back to back, and they do it every single year. So how in the world are those bulls? They don't realize that those bulls that are on the peaks go down into the low ground, and then that's why they finally, I think they got a hint this year, like a very slight hint, that they backed the tags off this year. I don't know if you saw that, but they did back the tags off in 7 East this year. Not even close to what it should have been. If you talk to one person that had that late rifle bull tag in 7 East, they were happy to see a bull on that hunt.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What is the problem? Why do they want to get rid of the elk that are in Flagstaff, or what? It's the what?
They are trying to save the aspen on the peaks. Is their stupid mentality that just lit up in fire 5 years ago. The whole entire stupid peaks lit up on fire, and then they got rid of, and then they kept the elk tags up, and there wasn't any place for the elk to even hide up there anymore where they used to hide, but they kept the tag numbers the exact same, like the same quantity of elk were up there. Oh, dude, don't get it. I'm telling you, that drives me nuts. And they don't listen to any of us locals whenever we complain about it. They've turned 7 East into a money pit, and they just keep on raking in the money. And they demolished that unit, demolished it.
Okay, moving on.
Sorry.
That is I mean, it needs, if you feel that strong about it, it needs to be said. That's why I asked the question. All right, so you've talked about 5B North, you've talked about 8, you've talked about 7 West being great with the muzzleloader hunt going first. You think some trophy bulls. You've talked about the peaks getting just absolutely demolished, which has in turn really hurt the rest of 7 East. What about 11M, guys?
The second hunt over the first hunt is good, but if you're fine hunting next to hikers and dogs and, putting a 2-hour stalk on an elk to get blown out by a hiker, the hunt's for you. But it has been good. There are good quality bulls in 11M. You can't shoot a rifle in 11M, so there are some decent age class quality bulls. It's not a trophy hunt by any means. I mean, if you're willing to shoot a 320, 330 type bull, 280 type bull, then it's a good hunt.
You just have to realize, to talk to hunters, you just have to realize that you're going to be hunting very close to Flagstaff, very close to metropolitan areas, most likely. The elk are coming off golf courses, coming through fences. As soon as they jump the fence, you have an opportunity to harvest. I mean, it's a different type of a hunt. Bikers, hikers, those types of, it's everywhere. So they just need to be prepared for that type of a hunt.
They need to do the research too.
Yeah, you typically don't think about that when you're hunting, Arizona. You're coming to hunt a, big monster bull out in the open, grasslands or in the cedars. And so as long as they're prepared for that type of a hunt, it can be decent. But it's amazing the amount of elk that come into my yard or deer that come into my yard as soon as those rifle hunts start in 7 East and the hunting pressure starts. I mean, they come right into town. It's incredible.
Yeah,
and
we have
I heard you say, what's that?
Oh, we have to cage up all of our trees, and they eat our trees, and it's pretty comical. And then the archery hunters are sitting in the tree line waiting for them to come out of the meadows, and it's pretty fun. I mean, it's a good hunt. I wouldn't say I wouldn't be blowing a bunch of points or coming to Arizona thinking that you're going to be backpacking in someplace, because you literally park and you walk a half mile or whatever. You don't need to be in great shape for that hunt. You can stay in a hotel.
And I heard you say the second hunt is better than the first. Is that just a rut timing or what?
Yeah, the rut, the elk rut later.
Later.
And what's weird is it doesn't reflect that on the point system. It actually takes more points to draw the early hunt than it does to draw the late hunt. But I always recommend everybody to put in for the late hunt over the early hunt. So it's like the same exact thing on most archery hunts. Most of the bulls get killed on the second week. You know what I mean?
We've covered a lot of great ground today. Let's kind of wrap up with your successes for your guide service or personally last year, last season, talking about elk or antelope, either one. Any hunts that jump out at you as far as successes for High Point Outfitters?
Jay, first of all, I appreciate you having us on. I mean, we love Northern Arizona, all the units in Northern Arizona. We grew up here, so we love most of the units. We talked a lot about 10 just because that's kind of where we focus today. But we killed some great bulls in 10. We killed 4 bulls over 380 in 10 this year. Our best one being 393. I don't want to say who killed it, otherwise his head will get bigger. His hat barely fits right now, but
he's sitting next to you.
Yeah, John killed a great bull this year on the early rifle hunt. Just a reflection on, what it takes to kill a good bull. You've got to stay off the trigger. You got to be willing to go in areas and, and hunt your tail off. Just a lot of those things. And you guide, so some hunters say that they want to kill a 390 plus bull, but just, the effort or the time or the ability is just not there to be able to get it done. But we killed some great bulls. We killed a great bull in 5B North and in 7 East this year. So we had, in fact, our 7 East story is in Epic this month. So people that want to read about that, but it was a good bull. We killed a good 375 bull on the late hunt in 10. We killed some good bulls in 7 West on the late hunt. So we had a good elk hunt. It was a good fall for the elk, and I'll let John talk about antelope.
Before John talks about antelope, let me ask you a question, John, about your bull that you shot. So you had your own 10 tag and you shot a big bull, and from what I heard you say earlier in the story, what you really liked is the fact that you can't run trail cameras, you can't get on the ranch until August, and so it had more of a anticipation. You didn't really, you do your scouting, but there's a little more unknown. Talk a little bit about that, and then about your hunt.
Okay. Yeah. No. It was a great hunt. Had my family and friends there helping along, and it was a lot of scouting. I was hunting antelope with Cade Smith before my hunt in Unit 10, and then I was hunting archery elk with him in Unit 10 before my hunt. He actually drew both tags this year, rifle antelope and archery elk this year, which is kind of amazing to do.
That's scumbag.
Let's just
call him what it is. That's scumbag.
Yeah,
I like Cade.
I think Cade. Yeah, Cade's a stud. He's a good people.
Good dude.
Yeah, both of those tags. I got to hunt with him, and in the back of my head, actually, what's funny is before he made sure that I promised him that I would not hold any bulls in the back of my pocket, like keep one for myself, and I promised him, and dude, we had an unbelievable hunt. It was an awesome hunt, hunting with him, but getting to my hunt, and I killed on day, I think it was day 4, I think I finally killed. I passed up 380 bulls during my hunt leading up to the bull that I ended up shooting. 2 of the bulls that were the better bulls in Unit 10 got killed during the archery hunt. I think my bull was, from, just hearsay or, whatever, I think it was the best bull taken out of 10 during my hunt, which, somewhat makes you feel good. And, zero trail cam pictures of it, people didn't know where that bull was. Nobody has video of the bull. We actually found it when, during Cade's hunt, during his archery hunt. He actually, hopefully he doesn't listen to this, but he shot and missed it. And, Cade is a good dude, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that part yet. He actually found my bull during his archery hunt. He actually saw it, and I never saw my bull until I killed him, if you can believe that. So, which is really weird. Awesome. But I hiked in. I hiked into that spot 9 times looking for that bull, just off of Cade's word that it was a giant bull. It was what Unit 10 you dream for: giant back end, big beams, So, and I'm like, wait, what? It's bigger than Heavy K. We named all these bulls, and he's like, dude, it's bigger than that bull. I'm like, is it bigger than this bull? He's like, dude, it's bigger than that bull. Is it bigger than that? And I'm like, dude, what the heck? So it's driving me nuts. You know what I mean? Because super thick. You can only see like 60 yards in front of you. My shot with my rifle was 80 yards. So you can imagine how thick it is to hunt and to kill that bull, and you can hear him screaming right on the other side of the tree, and you can't even see him, so it drives you nuts. And then that's another day wasted, and you hike back in again, and it's another day wasted. You hike back in. It was driving.
Yeah, because you don't even really know what you're chasing. You're just going off Cade's word, Cade's word is good, but it's like I got to imagine you start questioning yourself, like, what am I doing?
Dude, it was driving me nuts. And I would see a bull, and it would be like a 380 bull, and I'd be like, nope, that's not him. I'm trusting Cade because, you know, we were on some giant bulls during Cade's hunt, you know, and you know, the bull went 393. I thought it was going to, you know, be right at 4 bills. But whenever I saw him, I knew it was him. I knew it was him. Cade's like, dude, he's got giant swords. He's got big beams. His swords, when he looks at you, they tip in. And I'm like, all right, well, that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to find this sucker. I'm not going to stop hunting until I find this sucker. Well, anyways, I ended up finding him. Ben ended up calling him in, and it was like 80-yard shot, and it's all on video. You know, because I don't even know what I shot. You can hear it on video. I'm like, what the heck did I just shoot? You know, what did I shoot? I don't know what I just shot. And that's the thrill of hunting that trail cameras is taking away. I don't know what I shot. You know what I mean? I'm going off of somebody's word of a giant bull living in this area. It was pretty dang cool. You can hear, I don't know, I'm kind of maybe a little embarrassed to release the video because you can hear all that, because literally that's what hunting should be. You shouldn't have 30 million trail cam pictures of him. You shouldn't know that the bull has 27-inch swords, which, I mean, usually you get 20-inch swords, that's great. Usually you get 24-inch swords, that's phenomenal. But to get 27s on swords is unbelievable. You know what I mean? And
it's probably a good thing you didn't know. You might have panicked like the rest of us would.
And you could, yeah. So that was my best bull to date. It was an awesome hunt. I'm super excited. But yeah. So that's that.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
I'll go into Antelope. Shane killed the best antelope killed in the state during the general hunt, and almost statewide, even during all the auction tags. There was the super raffle guy ended up beating Shane's buck by 2/8 by the Grimmets. It went 90, 91 and 4/8, and the buck that Shane killed out of 5B went 91 and 2/8 official. So that's a heck of an antelope during the general hunt. I'd have liked to see what he would have went if we could have shot him, you know, during, you know, whenever all the auction tags are usually shooting their bucks, you know what I mean? When they're all swolled up and not dried out, that buck would have, you know, maybe another inch, maybe 2 inches more. So
Shane was the guide on that hunt. Pete was the hunter, and that story is in Hunting Fool this month. So if anybody's interested, it's in Hunting Fool.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right.
Yeah, that's sweet.
So let's wrap up with what are you seeing as far as antelope? You had successes last year on your antelope hunts. Any hunts, any antelope hunts that are jumping out at you as a must apply for?
You know, Unit 10, 5B North are still, I would say, in the top 2 units. There are some good bucks in 5A. Don't keep that out of you know, the back of your mind. But if you're looking for an archery hunt, you know, it's pretty. Any archery antelope hunt is tough, but pretty much any place you could get an antelope tag in Arizona is pretty much going to be pretty good. I mean, there's 80-inch bucks killed in every single unit in Arizona. We just have the genetics to do it in every unit. So if you're wanting to just shoot an antelope, go to Wyoming. If you're wanting a trophy hunt and you have a bunch of points, just keep on holding out until you draw a premier tag. Unit 9 was pretty tough last year. We did kill one 80-inch buck out of Unit 9. The age class, or the whatever you want to call it, I don't know, was pretty tough. Unit 7 is almost comparable with Unit 9 now. It doesn't show it on the points, but I would say they're pretty dang comparable. that Unit 8 muzzleloader, if you're not super high in points, that might be a good option for you. But, any archery tag you can get, obviously takes less points. And if you're proficient with a bow, they're super fun. Definitely bring a lot of arrows. Usually you can get off a few shots. So,
but Jay, 5B and 10 are really the top two, and with 5A kind of being number 3. I mean, those are the 3 top units in the state. 5B is the best unit in the state. Tough to draw. 10 with the number of tags makes it a little easier to draw. So, but 5B and 10, great tags.
Good stuff, guys. I want to give you a chance to tell people where they can find you, where they can follow, etc. Call you, whatever you want to give out. Please feel free to do so. And I just want to thank you for your time and sharing your expertise. And I know the listeners are going to enjoy hearing you guys. And I did my best to kind of pick into the brain of each one of you. And I know that's what the listeners enjoy. So go ahead and tell the listeners how they can get more info or what have you.
Yeah, our email is our email, and our website is highpointoutfitters.net. Is our website, highpointoutfitters.net, and then shoot us an email at shoot, so SHOOT, shoot at highpointoutfitters.net, and we respond back quickly. You can also jump on the internet or on our website and send email off of there on click the contact button and get a hold of us. So that's the best way to catch us this time of year. We do return every email we get and every phone call we get. And would love to help anybody with any draw strategy, or come to Arizona and get a tag and hunt. You'll have an awesome hunt.
Guys, don't forget to sign up for Go Hunt Insider membership and get all of the 2018, the most up-to-date draw odds, the most accurate draw odds for the state of Arizona. If you're applying, it's imperative to get the great information and be able to make a good decision moving into this draw deadline of February 13th. Go to gohunt.com/JScott. If you do so, you're going to get a $50 Go Hunt Gear Shop gift card just for signing up. Guys, thanks for listening.